Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about communism. And what I mean by communism is really just the enforcement of Marxism in the world, in particularly one experiment through the Bolshevik Revolution. So, as you can see here, this is a PowerPoint titled Marxism, Murder, and Terror. And it's also by HBU, and it's really just a very helpful PowerPoint to walk through some of the major issues. Particularly today, I want to talk about how many people died under the communist regime, how many civilians were murdered under communism. We're going to look at that. So on this title page, you see notable figures, right? You have Karl Marx first, you have Frederick Engels, and then you have Lenin, and then you have Stalin. Obviously, this is in Russian, and if you know Russian, you could be reading this, but it's a nice little image. He begins the PowerPoint by saying, those who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it, and you begin to ask the question, has this been done before? Well, not on this scale. This is just really unbelievable, the amount. So the first question we're exploring here today is, how many civilians were murdered under communism? The answer is 100 million civilians were murdered under their government. This puts to shame Hitler. Hitler is a novice at killing people. Lenin and Stalin outclassed him manyfold, right? So any semblance that you have of the Holocaust and other major World War II genocides or killing of vast groups of people, it's all outclassed totally and completely by the Soviets, by Lenin and Stalin together. And then Mao comes along and he outclasses both of them. So really just put Hitler at the bottom of the list here, and then start moving up Lenin, Stalin, and then Mao. And that's what we're talking about. The millions, 100 million civilians murdered under communism by their own governments. And we'll get to those other questions in later videos. Here are the major figures of the Soviet experiment. You have Lenin, and then you have Trotsky, and then, of course, you have Stalin. Really, Stalin is one of the most faithful followers of Lenin, and he would consider himself as such. Now, particularly for the question, let's look at these different sources. The first big one that I want to recommend, the most conservative but also the most documented, is the Black Book of Communism by Courtois. It's worth its weight in gold. You should pick it up. But that's the second one here that lists 100 million. That's the number we'll go with. You have 110 million. You have 110 million in these other ones. Notice Red Holocaust, etc. That way. And then you look at the countries under which these killings happened, right? So under the USSR, 20 million. So under Courtois, that would be the Black Book of Communism. USSR, 20 million. China, 65 million. Cambodia, 2 million. North Korea, 2 million. Africa, Vietnam, and Latin America. So major deaths and killings and starvations, etc., all happening under these regimes. That is really all I want to mention right now. I'm going to plug, lastly, a book by Richard Pipes. It's The Three Whys of the Russian Revolution. And in it, he argues, he's Harvard prof of history, documented the Russian Revolution. He argues that the Bolshevik Revolution was not inevitable. Per Marxist doctrine, it was not inevitable. It was pure and simple a coup d'etat. And it was pretty weird how it happened, how Lenin was able to overthrow the regime at that time. Anyhow, all these are happening during the 20th century, really all happening during World War II, honestly, and then on. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.